What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the NBA Hardwood Show here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. I'm Draftcheat, Peter Christensen, joined today by AP and Bobby Gomes. AP, what's going on, man?
Yeah, not a lot. Just, getting ready for the slate. I think it's going to be a much better slate than yesterday. Yesterday was, I didn't like it. It was, I don't know how you guys felt about it. It really just seemed like people were going to be all on the same place, which is what we saw. The Houston guys were like 100% owned, which you rarely ever see. And I locked in Embiid, and our guy gets hurt. Thankfully, it wasn't too bad. I think he's going to be back in a couple weeks. But I like tonight's slate. I think it's going to be a better slate, and I'm pumped to be with. We got my two guys here. I think we're going to find the winners for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. 7-game slate tonight. As you mentioned, the big injury to Embiid yesterday looked like it could be a season ender, an ACL, but what are they saying? Bone bruising. So looks like he'll be okay in a couple of weeks. Would hate to see him knocked out. It was one of those slates that kind of reminded you, the importance of ownership. Like Embiid, it seemed like a can't miss spot rather, and he was certainly going off, but anything can happen, obviously, in one game, and we did see Jokic obviously come through in the end. Bobby, how are you doing today? And coming off a pretty big score a couple days ago, right?
Yeah. Finished second in the 888.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good night all around. Thankful for the team getting me on some plays. Yeah, that Embiid injury, man, last night, man, oof. He lucked out there. I was watching that live. I feel like a lot of people probably were, and that was just absolutely insane. I thought his whole season was over. So nice to see that he got by there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. How's your Saturdays going? Obviously, anyone up to anything prior to this, or what were you guys doing?
Not much over here. We got 40 straight hours of snow that just started a couple hours ago. Probably going to get 2 feet in Denver. That. So kind of crazy.
I heard you guys might get 2 to 3 feet.
I'll stock up for a couple days though, so it's all good.
Gosh, brutal. Don't bring that shit over here, DC. I don't want any of that snow. I'm what, 8 hours?
It doesn't look like it's just sitting right over Denver. So I think you'll be good. Good in Nebraska there. Yeah, let's jump into the slate. Of course, we'll go game by game as we always do. We'll go by the DraftKings order of games, talking about all 7 DFS plays, any bets that we have, all that good stuff. Let's start with the first one of the night, Detroit and Brooklyn. Detroit, obviously just kind of a ton of moving parts with them. They just traded for Hamidou Diallo. He won't be available in this one. Obviously, Blake Griffin won't get the revenge spot. He's going to sit this one out for the Nets now, not the Pistons. Lau Cabarrot did just get ruled out, so that changes a little bit for Brooklyn in terms of some of those kind of secondary wings. Kevin Durant remains out yet again, and then Dennis Smith is out. We saw him and Saban Lee do pretty well when DeLon Wright was out, but he's back now. So kind of a lot of moving parts for Detroit here. I think, at least in theory, you could look to some of these Detroit guys with how many they're missing out, but for me, at least, they're a hard team to trust right now. So interested in you guys' opinions on the Pistons. We do have the Nets favored by 11 here with a 226 total. AP, I'll throw it to you first for Brooklyn and Detroit.
Yeah, the last time we saw the Pistons, which I think was on Thursday, we saw them play like 12 guys. Yep. They had a very, very deep rotation. DeLon Wright did not see many minutes. So, it's a really tough spot. And, the way I'm looking at it is this slate is very nice. We have a lot of really nice plays, yep. Especially, later on. Do I really want to lock up some of these plays? The matchup again, the total's nice. If I knew DeLon Wright and if I knew Jeremy Grant and Josh Jackson were going to get a ton of minutes, those would be the 3 guys I would have some interest in if they could keep it close against the Nets. The only we can't look at the Nets anymore as this team that's just really bad defensively and a complete walkover.
Sure.
I think Bruce Brown has really helped out. He's a very lengthy guy. He helps out on the defensive end of the court. DeAndre Jordan, not bad. They'll rotate in Jeff Green. Landry Shamet has been playing very well. He's hitting the 3-ball. That is probably the guy I have interest in on the Nets side for value, Landry Shamet.
Yep.
Here's the thing about him, like when he gets hot, you need him to hit threes, okay? If he's hitting threes, he's fine. He's only 3.6 or 3.5 on DraftKings, and value isn't as transparent as it was yesterday. So definitely have some interest in him. And then for me, it's like they priced up Kyrie. Why not pay for some of these other studs? Like I'd rather have Harden over Kyrie, and I think that's going to be a popular route. But we got Luke on the slate. We got Giannis on the slate. We got Trae Young against Fox. We got Lillard against Towns.
Yeah.
Like we got a lot of very nice spots. So it takes me off Kyrie. Harden's interesting, but I'm leaning by my lean here is to not lock anyone up. Maybe like Isaiah Stewart. He's been a guy I've been on for quite some time. On the Pistons side, he's taking minutes from Mason Plumlee. They're going to want his defense out there. He's a very good defensive guy. We need him to rack up peripheral stats though in the paint. If we're going that route, he's not gonna be a guy that's going to get you a bunch of raw points.
For sure. I'll throw it to you, Bobby, here in a second. My problem with the Pistons, talking about DeLon Wright, Jeremy Grant, Josh Jackson, even Mason Plumlee himself, all these guys I think are capable of putting up big points in this matchup on a per minute basis. But the motivations of Detroit right now are to lose games, right? They are in basically full-on tank mode, and we've seen it with these guys. I mean, I've had Mason Plumlee rostered before, where he's having a big game, and they just don't want him on the court because for whatever reason, they're given the backup minutes. That can happen to any of these guys. So there's just so much that can go wrong with any player, right? In any game, you throw in kind of the monkey wrench of they could just get pulled for no reason at all, even if they're playing well. And it's enough for me to kind of want to fade most of Detroit. Harden, I think, is interesting, but he doesn't quite get there for me compared to guys like Giannis, maybe a Lillard. So that's kind of where I stand on this one. Mostly a fade for me outside of kind of the value plays that AP mentioned. Bobby, where do you stand on Detroit and Brooklyn?
Yeah, so this Brooklyn stack, obviously, the other night when I hit, they treated me really well. Kyrie was very low owned in a revenge spot versus Celtics. Not really very revenge oriented or narrative oriented, but kind of fit. One of the big pieces that I had was Daniel Tice versus the Nets court. So I think when AP talked about Stewart, talked about Plumlee, I kind of like those guys in GPPs just versus the Nets. Nets have just been killed by bigs. So if you're getting chalk in that range, which I think you're gonna Chris Boucher, I think is gonna be pretty highly owned.
Yeah,
he's at 6'6". Plumlee's down at 6'2". You're getting him at a lower ownership clip. I know these Toronto guys have been playing a ton of minutes. They're gonna be chalky, but I don't hate these big pivots, especially AP, you bring up Stewart, he's 3,800. Bembry's 3,800. Bembry's going to see the minutes. Not that I want to go there, but I'm in cash, but in tournaments, I could see you can definitely make the case to kind of play these Detroit bigs versus the Nets. If this game blows out, Stewart maybe sees more run. Maybe Bembry doesn't get there, and then your leverage versus the field's pretty good. So I don't know. I don't hate this game. For GBPs, definitely. I think it's somewhat interesting. Not really on the studs, though.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I like Stewart a little bit. Sounds like all three of us are on him some. Obviously would not play him with Plumlee, but if you want to take a shot on either Detroit big, I don't think that's the worst way to go tonight. Let's move to, I think, a more interesting game, Toronto and Charlotte. A lot of news with this one. Obviously, Toronto missing a bunch of guys. Charlotte is 2.5 point home favorites here. Pretty big 234 total. Pretty much all the news is on the Toronto side of the ball. They're going to be without Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, and then Malachi Flynn and Patrick McCaw. Not really big deals there, but the big three starters: Anunoby, VanVleet, Siakam, all sitting out for Toronto in this one, which it leaves a lot of minutes and opportunity. Kyle Lowry is going to have the ball a ton. Last game he had 27 or 28 potential assists, which is about as many as I've seen in a game all year long. So I really like his assist prop. It's at 10.5 on FanDuel, but you get a plus number there. Bobby, you mentioned Chris Boucher is probably going to see pretty decent minutes in this one. Norman Powell is going to be firing away. I wouldn't be shocked to see him get up 10 plus 3-point attempts. So, the minutes are going to be there. Matchup is decent enough against Charlotte. AP, it's hard for me to stay away from these these Toronto guys rather against the Hornets.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we actually got some coach speak last game. I believe they also played on Thursday, and everyone in chat was kind of freaking out. What are they going to do with their minutes? Kyle Lowry, big minutes. I think he played 38, 39. Norman Powell, again, played 38, 39. So you can't really listen to what these guys are going to get big minutes. I feel very good about playing Kyle Lowry and Norman Powell because they have to play them big minutes. We also saw Aaron Baines, Chris Boucher, both of them saw 30 minutes, and what a fantastic matchup for both of those guys. So I really think this is another spot where we could see, like, I don't think a lot of people are going to do this. And I haven't messed around with any builds myself, but with how the slate sets up, if you play Kyle Lowry, Norman Powell, Chris Boucher, and Aaron Baines, so they're both centers on DraftKings, I don't think a lot of people are going to do it. I think it's a very interesting, roster construction, especially against this Hornets team that struggles against bigs. Boucher, he could definitely get going. And then Norman Powell and Kyle Lowry, they're going to do their thing. I think Kyle Lowry had a floor game last game, 5 for 17 from the field, 12 assists. And I like that mention. You said he had 19 opportunities for
27 potential assists.
Or 27.
Just like the highest number I've seen all year. Yep.
Yeah, he had 19 against Boston. I mean, he's going to have his hand. Like, we definitely saw a floor game from him, which is probably suppressing his ownership a little bit. That plus the fact that we have a lot of elite guards on the slate. So this is a spot I love. We talk about it all the time. We get guaranteed minutes with them. I don't see a situation where, maybe a rare blowout, a rare kind of dud game. Like we saw last night with the Wizards. It was a slower paced game. They're a little lethargic coming off All-Star break. The Raptors already have a game under their belt. I'm not worried about that kind of hangover effect at all. And this is a team that needs to start winning, needs to, really get going. And I think Kyle Lowry and Norman Powell are going to get it done. And if you want to get very unique, try, like, if you're multi-entering, I'm going to do it probably like in that 888, 20K to first on DraftKings. I'm going to throw all 4 in. And I don't think I'm going to run it back with anyone. I think there's other plays on the slate that are better than this very deep Hornets team. All I want from the Hornets is like, wild as it sound, I want them to give Ball good minutes, and because he's going to help out with the pace, which is going to make the Raptors side that much more attractive. And if we get that, we get everything I need, and I don't need to force a run back. I can go many other places on this slate. So very interesting route. I love this game, especially the Raptors side.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm really, really high on the Raptors side. Charlotte plays perhaps the most unique style of defense in the NBA, where they just give up a ton of spot-up 3-point opportunities in particular. So I think Norman Powell and Chris Boucher, the two guys that I see really benefiting from that. And that's kind of another reason why I really, really like that Kyle Lowry assist prop. I think he could get 15-plus assists in this one pretty easily. I'm with you on the Charlotte side. You can play some of these guys, but they're priced up a little bit. They're getting healthier. We don't really see any injury news whatsoever on their side of the ball. So unless something changes there, I could see fading Charlotte while still playing, 3 or 4 Raptors, like you mentioned. Bobby, how are you breaking down Toronto and Charlotte here?
Yeah, so I think you guys hit on, like, all these plays are really good plays. They're definitely going to be in consideration for a lot of people in cash games. These Toronto Raptors are going to make up the majority of construction. I think I prefer Lowry to Powell. If Powell's gonna be like 60% owned, Lowry's gonna be like 60% owned. Like, I maybe might want to go like a different place on one of them, and I think that Lowry would be the one I'd be more keen to play. Sure. Probably go under the field on Powell. Yeah, Boucher, Baines, Bembry, Stanley Johnson. I'm seeing like places. I don't want to play Stanley Johnson. Is that like a legitimate thing? Like, do we have to consider playing Stanley Johnson?
I wouldn't. I just don't really see any upside there. I mean, I get why people would be interested, but how often is it Stanley Johnson that's going to burn you? I think if Big T was joining us here, I think he'd talk us off of Stanley the man, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing that on FD. Like, he's coming up for like some of their optimals, and that just makes me want to throw up. Yeah, I don't like outside. Like, I think you have to make a stance on one of these guys. Like, maybe you don't have to make a stance. Like, maybe AP said like you just play the four of them. Like, that would be a way to differentiate it. But I definitely try to differentiate these guys because they're going to be extremely chalky. I don't think you need a run back. Like you said, like that's kind of differentiated on a 7-game slate. Like, people are going to run this back. I don't think you have to run it. I don't think you have to run it back. But that would be a way to kind of differentiate yourself if you play a majority of them and then don't run it back. Yeah, that's pretty much like my thoughts. I want to like fade one of these guys. I just haven't really figured out who yet.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm pretty big on.
So
go ahead.
I had to run it. If you play all four of those guys, Kyle Lowry, Chris Boucher, Aaron Baines, and our boy Norm Powell, you're left with like 5.7K per position. I don't think anyone's going to do that at all. And I think it's interesting because we have so many studs on the slate. It's going to be very difficult maybe to make another stud work in that build. And maybe it doesn't work out at all, but it's something I'm definitely going to look at because when you look at the pace of this game, when you look at the matchups, when you look at the minutes that these guys should get, the opportunity is going to be there, which makes it very interesting for sure.
There's no doubt in my mind all four of those Raptors guys could end up with the DraftKings flame emoji at the end of this game if it goes well. There's just no question about it.
Without a doubt. I think if you're stacking the minutes and you think you get leverage that way, like that's
yeah. Definitely. I think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we got one more 7 Eastern time game here, and it is one that we just got big news dropping on. Milwaukee and the Wizards just found out Bradley Beal is gonna miss this game, so that certainly changes things. Looks like the line moved a couple of points. Bucks now 13-point favorites over the Wizards, 240.5 total. So pretty monster total between Milwaukee and Washington. Obviously, Bradley Beal missing out. Not only does it make a blowout slightly more likely, it does open up a ton of usage. Obviously, the first guy you think of when Beal sits out is Russell Westbrook. Tough matchup here, but the ceiling certainly is enormous against Milwaukee, who does play at a fast pace. So he's interesting, a good talking point, just another stud that is certainly in play. And then I think it opens up, obviously, minutes on the wing for Washington. Davis Bertans also going to sit this one out. So Washington is going to need shooting, right? So I think that's kind of the first place I would look for value from the Wizards. We'll start this one off with you, Bobby. How do you think the Bradley Beal news affects this game overall? And is Russell Westbrook on your short list at this point? I know we just got this a couple of minutes ago, so haven't had a ton of time to react to it yet.
What's Westbrook's price? I'm sorry, I
think he's right around 10.
He's around 10. Yeah,
10.2 on DraftKings.
Obviously, he's going to see an extreme usage bump. My issue is I think I want guys that can shoot versus this Milwaukee team. Like, if he's around 10K, I want guards that can shoot for that matter. So that would be one thing that I would definitely be trying to figure out. Obviously, with Beal out, his usage is increased, and obviously Bertans' usage with Bertans out, his usage is going to be increased. But you're taking out two guys that are shooters for Westbrook, right? Like, Bertans and Beal are guys that Westbrook gets his ancillary stats from, with hitting the outside three, and that's kind of how you beat this Milwaukee team. And this game could just absolutely blow out. So, not really on. I don't know. Maybe it's just my first look at it in the situation. I'm probably off it. Giannis was going to be pretty chalky prior to this. I could see Bobby Portis maybe being more chalky just because people anticipating a blowout. How would you, AP?
Yeah. So my hope is that so a couple things. My hope is that we get more Westbrook ownership. So when people are dialing in their models, they're going to get Russell Westbrook, gets a nice usage bump. He gets
his ownership's going way up here. No question about it.
Yeah. And the nice thing about it is this is a tough matchup. They could throw the kitchen sink at Westbrook. And look, Westbrook's been better, but they got Holiday back. They got some really nice defenders there that they could just throw at Westbrook. And they could say, look, let's just take Westbrook out of this game. Very difficult to do, okay, especially when he's healthy. He's been better. I get it. But what I'm saying is if we see that ownership shift and a lot of people play Westbrook, which will probably be a fine play, we have so many other studs on the slate that we can pivot to. Luka has absolutely, dominated the Nuggets this season. We'll get to that here in a bit, but I don't think it's one of those spots where you just automatically plug in Russell Westbrook. I have no complaint. He's a very, very strong play, okay? If the game stays close, he could absolutely smash. I get all of that. Yeah. I'm just saying we have lots of nice plays on the slate. I hope ownership goes to Westbrook because they looked really bad yesterday. Very, very bad. I mean, and
they're just badly outgunned here, right? Like if you look at Westbrook, I guess is a good player, but more of a kind of a stat whore type of player than like an effective NBA winner at this point. I mean, they're just outmanned at every position without Bradley Beal, without Davis Bertans. The 13-point spread, I could see that even climbing more.
Like you mentioned, around Junior's price.
What's that?
No, I agree with the chat here. They're talking about Bobby Portis. I love Bobby Portis in these spots. He hasn't gotten it done of late, and the only one was against the Knicks. They're throw that game out. I don't really care about that game. This is a different game, faster pace for sure. This Bobby Portis could put up a 40 spot here. And so my play here is if we fade the studs, we play Portis. We can, if we pair that with the Raptors idea, you can make Luka work. And so I think it's a very interesting build path for sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think my general reaction to this is fade both Westbrook and Giannis. If I was playing Westbrook, I would definitely play Giannis too. I would pair them together if I was going to go in that direction. Because if Westbrook gets full run here, right, I think he's got a really good chance. Like his upside is enormous. There's no question. But so is Giannis's. I mean, if Giannis gets 38 minutes here, he's putting up 65 plus fantasy points, I think almost every time in this matchup. So I think I would tie Westbrook and Giannis together in most lineups. But if I'm playing one lineup, my initial inclination is to kind of fade both those guys, hope for a blowout, and hope some of these guys, take some chalk plays down with them, because I do think you'll see pretty high ownership on both Giannis and Westbrook. I'll throw it back to you, Bobby. Final thoughts here on Milwaukee and Washington, rather.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if any of these Washington guys are going to get a boost when they obviously should with Beal and Bertans out. I know Troy Brown Jr. saw minutes the other night because I was watching that game. Forget what this last night he came in for minutes. I don't know what he played though. Maybe he sees some run. Rui gets
he played 15.
Yeah, he played 15. Yeah. Well, Bill was hurt, so now maybe give him a couple more at 3,200.
Yeah, I think Denny Avdija, I think, is going to play probably 30 plus minutes. He can shoot a little bit. So there are some cheap options if you want to go that direction.
Yeah, Garrison, I don't know what his price is. I don't tout Garrison Matthews or even Troy Brown Jr. for that matter. But if you're playing MME, GVPs, large field stuff, maybe these guys earn play to get different. Yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts to close it out.
Cool. We'll move on to Sacramento and Atlanta. Before we do, just a reminder, hit the like, hit that subscribe. Allows us to bring you free shows here on YouTube pretty much every day for basketball and other sports as well. So please help us out. Really helps us bring you these free shows as often as we can. Let's go to Sacramento and Atlanta here. Another really high total in this one, 239 total. The Hawks favored by 4.5. Of course, the Kings have pretty much been basement dwellers in terms of defensive efficiency all year long. They've been a fantastic team to target. And I think that remains true in this one. We do know Hassan Whiteside going to miss, but relatively healthy teams other than that. I think the play that sticks out to me seems relatively obvious, but looks like a pretty tremendous spot for Trae Young here. A little bit of a discount for him from some of the other guys, from some of the other studs on this slate. And I think a price I'm willing to pay, 9.8K rather, on DraftKings, looks pretty enticing to me. AP, your thoughts on Trae Young and anyone else in Sacramento and Atlanta?
Yeah, I think we're going to see suppressed ownership on the point guards here, and De'Aaron Fox and Trae Young. And this is one reason why I really like this slate. I think it's a great multi-entry slate. De'Aaron Fox, he looks a little bit better on FanDuel, a little bit cheaper. I think on DraftKings at 9.2, really going to go overlooked. But we give Luke Walton a ton of crap, and rightfully so. But he's given his guys – Hield, Fox, he's giving these guys at least a little bit longer of a leash. Mm-hmm. I say that with a lot of reservation because it could be pulled at any minute.
Sure.
And they could definitely tilt us. But there's a lot of ways to get off. So, like when you have Luka, when you have Russ now without Beal, when you have Dame without CJ and Nurkic, when you have Harden and Kyrie on a slate, and no one's going to play De'Aaron Fox and Trae Young. And so I think they're very interesting tournament plays with massive upside. I'm going to have a couple stacks with them together because if you play them together, the way I'm going to do it is with that Toronto stack that we talked about. I'll most likely have to get off of Kyle Lowry. But if you throw Baines and Boucher in there, double center, and then if you throw like Fox and Trae Young, you got a really interesting build that's going to be low owned. No one's going to play it at all. You're off the other stud, the chalkier studs. You have just as much upside though. So I love these slates like this because we can get these phenomenal correlated plays that go drastically under owned. On the Hawks side, I want to play Capella. I've been on him a bunch. They don't trust him down the stretch. He can't hit free throws. He needs to be in the paint. So if they're giving Holmes big run, they're gonna have Capella in there. I don't trust his minutes, but man, he could absolutely smash in this matchup. Trae Young is the guy on the Hawks side I feel the best about. He's gonna be in there. He has massive upside. Collins is a guy that's popping because he's only 6'5" and a very nice matchup, in there against Marvin Bagley, who doesn't play any defense at all. So like when I look at from a risk standpoint, I think like Bagley's a guy that Luke Walton would pull just because he doesn't play defense. I'm not as worried about Fox and Hield because, they're going to, if the Hawks are getting it done in the paint, they're going to pull Bagley out. Luke Walton's going to change up the rotation. But I feel very confident that Fox and Hield and Barnes are going to be the guys that get the consistent run. I never play Harrison Barnes. He's got a very low floor and a good ceiling. I don't ever really play him. So unless his price was very, very low. So for me, I think this is a very good tournament spot. I have a lot of interest in mainly playing the guards against each other in tournaments. Trae Young against De'Aaron Fox.
That's where I'm at on this one. It seems almost overly straightforward, right? But it just seems like the way to go. Trae Young in particular, 9,800, I have a ton of interest in tonight. Obviously can't fit in everyone, but he's near the top of my list. Bobby, Trae Young thoughts and anywhere else you want to go with Sacramento and Atlanta here?
Yeah, so to hit on what AP said, like Luke Walton just wants to run these guys out there. That was a big part of like my win the other night was he just left De'Aaron Fox in the fourth quarter when he probably should have been out midway through the third. I'm pretty sure it was a Fox like 2 that they changed to a 3 that stack corrected me in a first place, and then they redid it to a 2, and it changed. It put me in second. It put me back to second. So I love De'Aaron Fox. Like attacking Sacramento with guards. So on the other side of it, love Trae Young. I think he's a fantastic play. I think Capella is going to be owned at 7,500. If that's the case.
Yeah.
Like I don't mind playing. So like I think a way to differentiate the Hawks is to play all 3 of them, that being Trae, Capella, and Collins. I don't know, you might not be able to do that salary cap wise, but I think that you can also do that with the bigs on Sacramento. and Rashawn Holmes and Bagley. I really like them in this spot. Don't mind Bogdanovich at small forward. Hopefully he sees a minutes increase, a little revenge here. Don't hate that.
That is a great mention. Sorry, not to cut you off at all, Bobby Gomes, but like that, Bogdanovich, everyone, I overlooked him in my first run.
I like it too. Yeah, he caught my eye as well.
He just didn't make a shot, but look, that was against the Raptors. They got some good defense against kind of wings, and I think Bogdanovich, he's going to have that extra motivation for sure.
Yep.
And I don't care if you don't care about revenge or anything. You're playing your former team. He's going to be.
You have to feel something.
And maybe it hurts him, maybe it doesn't. It's a shooter. I don't really care about that. He's gonna shoot when he has open looks, and he's a good shooter. So ton of interest in him. Great mention.
Yeah, it's his fourth game back. He's played 16, 20, and then 17 minutes in that last game. But like you mentioned, he couldn't hit a shot, just didn't play very well. I think if his shot starts falling, I wouldn't be surprised to see his minutes climb into the mid-20s, 3.8K. I think he's capable of a 25, 30-point outing. I think he'll be fairly low owned. So I like that Bogdanovich call. Bobby, anything else here before we move on?
Yeah, he's at a good position too, small forward. Like I said, I not only on the other side on the Kings, Rashawn Holmes is a guy, 6,200. I think he's a really good play if he's going to be lower owned.
Sure.
I like this game a lot, just to kind of basically follow you guys. This is the game I'm going to be targeting.
Certainly a good one. I think the next one's pretty good too. The only 8 p.m. Eastern time game, that's Portland and Minnesota. A lot of high totals on this slate. This one, no exception, 234.5. Portland favored by 5. The Portland guys that have been out remain out. CJ McCollum, Yusuf Nurkic, Harry Giles, all out for Portland. And then we saw Minnesota play without both Jarrett Culver and Jordan McLaughlin last game. Looks like that's going to be the case again tonight. McLaughlin already ruled out, and Culver is doubtful. That leaves kind of Ricky Rubio to play a lot of minutes at point guard. He's a little bit interesting to me. And then we saw kind of a hero for a lot of run peer. I know I was on him. Jalen Noel went off for almost 50 fantasy points in that last game. He did get some garbage time run at the end that he might not otherwise have got, as Minnesota somehow blew out the Pelicans. But he's interesting. He's going to play the backup point guard behind Rubio and play alongside him at times. And then, of course, Minnesota has just been horrific defensively all year long. Hard to overlook a guy like Damian Lillard in this matchup, just another stud that you could certainly play. I could go on. I haven't mentioned Karl Anthony Towns yet. He's been disappointing, but in matchup with Enes Kanter is certainly one that you would think he could get right on. And then Anthony Edwards with Malik Beasley also suspended. He's going to get huge minutes on the wing and probably get up 20-plus shots. So there's a lot of good plays in this game. It's kind of hard to trust the Timberwolves, but with these guys out, the minutes are condensed. Obviously, the new coaching there hasn't changed much, but it was interesting to see Minnesota play much better in their first game out of the break with their new coach. AP, an interesting one here for me. How do you see this game going down?
I think it'll be interesting for sure. But we got DFS in the chat saying, "Cheers, fellas! Just took a shot of whiskey.
There we go.
Love to see that." And opening up his second brewski of the day. So I just, cheers, bro. Appreciate it. Got a little seltzer. I got some. So we're making some steaks later, and I got some red wine. I'll be drinking. No ice. Don't worry, K Fallick. If K Fallick's listening, I'm not having ice in my red wine. Don't worry. Wasn't it last week on the show? Or no, I don't think
there's an ice and red wine person here.
No, I was I was drinking this really cheap white wine in a red cup.
Okay.
Ice, yeah. it was like $6 wine,
That's allowed. That's allowed. But you can't be putting ice in the red wine.
Grigio, $6, like cupcake something. I mean, I had the screw off top. Like you can't. It's fine.
Ease of access there. I like it.
So, this game, my problem with Dame is they continue to price him sky high, and he's not panning out at all. Like, I can't remember. And he's always chalk, too. He's always mega chalk. And, look at 55, 39, 61, 40, 52, 51, 54, 32. I'm not. You're paying almost $11K with Luka on the slate. With like, why not play De'Aaron Fox or Trae Young? Like, why not play Trae Young? Like Trae Young, he's been a 50+ machine lately. So
Sure.
That's taken me off of Dame Lillard. I think he's a little bit cheaper on FanDuel, so you can make the argument there. I bet it'll be pretty popular there. And the matchup is good for sure. I have more interest in Gary Trent and Robert Covington. I think the play here is to play the peripheral pieces because I think we want to get exposure to the studs elsewhere on the slate. You guys might need to sell me on Karl-Anthony Towns. I get it. The matchup is awesome. My problem with the Wolves is despite being without guys like Malik Beasley and some of their other key guys, they still are rolling out a very deep rotation. So I'm not locking in any of these guys. Jalen Noel feels kind of like chasing, and he's priced up.
A little bit, yeah.
He had a fantastic game, which it's fine. But Jared Vanderbilt got into foul trouble early last game. That lowered his minutes, which obviously opened things up for Jaden McDaniels and some of these other pieces on their team. I think Rubio's fine. I think Edwards is fine. My fear is just, man, they could open up the rotation and we could see very deep. We could see them go way into the bench, and it just creates a lot of it's an unpredictable situation. And so I'm gonna try to avoid it if I can. I do like Edwards. I do like Rubio. I'll have a little bit of exposure there. I'm far more interested in Robert Covington because I know he's going to get the minutes, and Gary Trent because I know he's going to get the minutes. Like if I played Gary Trent and Robert Covington with those 4 Raptors guys I talked about, you're locking up what, like 35 minutes potentially from every guy. So it's interesting. I don't know how much that leaves you, and if you can get one of the studs going that route or not. Maybe you could get De'Aaron Fox or Trae Young since they're not as expensive. It's definitely very interesting, and it's a path I might look at locking in.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested in this game overall. The Timberwolves, if you look at some of their minutes, especially Towns, it looks like they're not going to play him big minutes, but like last game they blew out the Pelicans. He had played 29 minutes through 3 quarters. He didn't play a minute in the fourth quarter. So you give him 8 minutes in the fourth quarter, and you've got him up near 37 minutes there. The game before that was a blowout. He's been in foul trouble. So I do actually think the Wolves will play him big minutes if he's not in foul trouble and it's close. It doesn't look like it, but I do think that's the plan, at least from the new coaching staff. So I think you'll see Towns really low owned. I'm a little bit interested in going back, partly because the matchup against Enes Kanter is just so good for Towns. So we'll see. He's obviously been pretty disappointing this year overall. Bobby, thoughts on Portland and the Wolves here?
Yeah, so you hit on Town. Like I don't mind going back to Towns if he's going to be around 10-ish. 8 to 10%.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
It's pretty nice. Yeah, it's not the worst price. And it allows you to differentiate the construction a little. But you said Towns versus Kanter. What about Kanter versus Towns? And Kanter's at 7.2 on DK. I don't know what his price is on FanDuel. I think he would be an interesting play as someone. If Capella,
I think he'll have almost no ownership tonight.
If Capella is going to be chalk on DK at 7.5, Kanter at 7.2, I wouldn't mind pivoting to. I don't hate that. And then Dame, I think Dame's like in a really good spot. So I don't mind. Where's Dame's owner? Do we have is Dame's ownership going to be too? It's going to be around 18%.
I was going to say 15 to 20 would be my guess.
Yeah, so I don't hate that for Dame. But I think I would prefer Lowry at his clip. So I don't hate Dame's price. And then Jalen Noel, had him the other night. I'm not going to go back there, but 4.6, he looks good, this kid. So I don't know. It'd be tough. I don't really want to go back there, but I think he's a good player. So I think if I throw him in your MME pool. That'd pretty much be it for me.
Yeah, I think that's cool. And then, we didn't talk much about Edwards, but I do really find him pretty interesting in this one. I think he's going to get up a ton of shots.
Anthony Edwards, obviously.
Matchup is good, and we've seen the upside for him there. So I think, there's enough pieces here we've talked about game stacking a few of these ones. You could certainly do this one too. AP kind of mentioned those value Portland guys, Dame's in play. I think 3 or 4 Wolves are pretty strong plays. So if we see a close one here, we could see a lot of big minutes, I think. Perhaps a tighter rotation from the Wolves if this one does stay close. Let's go go ahead.
Can I just say one thing? Yeah, so Edwards and Powell are going to be extreme chalk on this slate. So like just shooting guard, small forward, like they're gonna.
Yeah.
I'd be trying to get away from that bill, if that's the case. Like the two of them together, like I wouldn't play them. I try not to play them together.
Yeah.
Or I just
makes sense. At least 20 shots in 5 straight games for Anthony Edwards. Let's go to the last 2 games of the night. A little bit lower totals out west. Indiana and Phoenix. We've got a 225 total in this one. Caris LeVert going to make his return for the Pacers. That's cool to see coming back from that scary situation for him. Cameron Johnson out for the Suns, and then does look like Devin Booker probable to play. Phoenix favored by 7.5. They've obviously played very good basketball this year and are expected to win this one. I don't have a ton here, AP, to be honest. I just think compared to some of the other situations that we've talked about already, I'm not finding a ton of value in this game, especially with LeVert returning. I haven't seen exactly what his minutes limits are going to be, but I don't know. What is your take here on Indiana and Phoenix?
Yeah, this is the game that I think is one of the easier ones to fade.
Yeah.
I see Mikal Bridges with Cam Johnson out. He could get some extended run. I don't really like the matchup for him. He's in there for defense. He's a good player for sure, but he's priced up, especially on DraftKings, 5.4K. I don't feel the need to go there. The only thing I'll say that's kind of interesting is Caris LeVert on FanDuel is 3.9K.
I like it.
Yeah, if he was getting 20 minutes, 20 to 24, like 3.9K, and you get Caris LeVert. Very interesting play. Outside of that, I'm going to make it very like DeAndre Ayton. We like to play athletic bigs against the Pacers, but Ayton's been very bad. The Suns have a very deep rotation. Sarge has been getting in there. Crowder. We got a bunch of different guys that can get in there and take minutes away from Ayton, but he is cheap, and it's a matchup that we typically like. I'm not really playing Devin Booker. I know his price point is fairly attractive. I think I'm going to be under on this game, if not fade it entirely, because I want to stack up some of these other spots that I just think are far, far better.
Yeah, if you want to get contrarian, I think this is the game to do it, but I just don't see anything that I personally want to play myself. Bobby, anything sticking out to you between the Pacers and the Phoenix Suns here?
Yeah, outside of LeVert on FanDuel, there's pretty much nothing here.
Yeah, let's we'll keep it moving. Not a lot for any of us from Phoenix and Indiana, assuming that we don't get any news that would change that, obviously. Last game of the night is Dallas and Denver. Nikola Jokic listed questionable to play in this one. Obviously, if he were to sit this one out, would kind of change the slate and this game entirely. Dallas is favored by 2 right now in Denver, which makes me think that perhaps Jokic will indeed sit it out. Other news outside of him, Gary Harris, RJ Hampton out for the Nuggets. Monty Morris and JaMychal Green are questionable. Actually, looks like Green probably going to play. And then James Johnson out for the Dallas Mavericks. AP, you've mentioned Luka a few times as possibly a good pivot in this one. So your thoughts on Luka? And I don't know, am I reading too much into this with this Dallas favored in Denver? That seems a little bit weird to me. If Jokic was in there, I would imagine that Denver would be favored. So your thoughts here on Dallas and the Denver Nuggets?
Yeah, I think this game is let's just say Jokic plays. I think it's an easy game to break down. My interest is mainly in Luka. He's absolutely smashed. He's put up 79 and 86 against the Nuggets so far, like on the
That'll
year.
work.
Yeah, that will definitely work. Jokic has actually struggled in this matchup.
Yep.
The Mavericks have a lot of different things that they can do. I know Big T's mentioned it a few times. Boban has sometimes slipped in there. to kind of keep Jokic in check. It's been surprising that they've been able to keep Jokic in check like they have. He's only put up 63 and 43 against this Mavericks team in the same games where Luka's gone for 79 and 86. Well, the problem is if Jokic sits, if he's out, it takes away Luka for me. It takes away, I think this game, I mean, Luka's still fine. He's 10-6. Yeah. He could still get to work for sure. It becomes a very interesting game because you'd have to think Michael Porter Jr. would get a lot more run. You'd have to think Jamal Murray would see a lot more usage. I don't love the matchup, though. I think we have better. I would much rather play some of these Toronto guys. I think they have a better matchup. And again, I think I'd rather play De'Aaron Fox or Trae Young in a game with a massive total. So keep an eye on. So the other thing I would look at is the total. I think has come down too. I think did it open at 227?
I believe it's come down a couple points. Yep.
So that would be the other concern there too. So I love Luka. I'm gonna keep it very simple. I love Luka here. Maxi Kleber's been playing a little bit better, but man, gosh, that guy, he sucks. I don't really want to play him. Porzingis has been fine, but it's Luka or nothing in this game for me. And I want Luka if Jokic is playing because I think we get a better game environment.
Makes a lot of sense. Another problem with this one, there's only 2 games at this time slot. We just talked about the other one, Indiana and Phoenix. We don't really have much interest there. And so even if you kind of made a team, backloaded a team on the anticipation that the Jokic might sit, if he doesn't, you're kind of going to be stuck with some bad plays. Of course, in a GPP, you can make that gamble if you want. And it's not that those plays couldn't work out if Jokic plays, but it's not a spot you'd necessarily want to find yourself in. Bobby, your thoughts here on Dallas and Denver?
Yeah, so I think it was JSU earlier in the year. He banked with this Luka Jokic stack.
Okay.
So if Jokic was to play, then obviously it's something you want to maybe think about playing, but you kind of don't have that opportunity to do with it being so late, right? So, and especially if Dallas is 5-point favorites, you just think that, I don't know, Jokic probably isn't going to play, I guess.
I think he does play. I think this Dallas team with Luka and Porzingis playing good, I think it's a close game. And
so if he does play, you're in a really good spot because where is his ownership at? If you stack this up and he does play, you're going to end up smashing.
We got Luka at 18.
He's at. What about Jokic though?
Oh, Jokic is going to be very low.
Yeah, he will because there's nowhere to pivot if he's out, basically.
Yeah, no one's going to.
You're stuck. You'd have to go Baines center and then Jokic utility so that at least you could make a pivot to someone else.
Sure.
Yep. But still, it's
you can make it.
You're tough sledding at that point.
If you have to pivot off Jokic, you're probably not getting near the top. Maybe you can cash, obviously, if the rest of your lineup is good.
I think if Jokic sits, you want to play a Will Barton, who you got to figure someone's going to get the usage here. It's kind of. I don't think it's going to be. It's going to be someone it's going to be Jamal Murray. It's going to be Will Barton. I know they started Monty Morris. Michael Porter Jr. Those are the guys that you want to play. You
could pivot to Porter Jr. or Jamal Murray. Either of those guys could have a huge game in the utility spot if Jokic sits. So I guess that's not the worst idea. Yeah, that's all 7 games. Looking for any news that dropped. Doesn't look like any. I think we covered all 7 pretty well. Bobby, your kind of final thoughts strategy-wise on the slate? Any kind of final thoughts for the people?
Yeah, I really like this slate. I think AP hit the nail on the head. This is a great tournament slate.
Sure.
Love the Kings-Atlanta game. And then, I think there's opportunities to get different in construction. If shooting guard, small forward is going to be Powell and Anthony Edwards, that might be shaky chalk, in my opinion. NBA is tough. It's tough to decide because fantasy point per minute. It's really tough to decide what the bad chalk is. My initial lean would be one of those 2. So I'd be trying to construct away from that, in my opinion. AP, how you kind of looking to attack it?
Yeah, I think if you're struggling with the slate, just remember that the Raptors are going to provide a very, nice spot where you're going to get a ton of minutes locked in. That's Lowry, that's Norm Powell. We like Boucher. I think DC made a very good point in that the Hornets give up a ton of 3 looks, which benefits Boucher, which benefits Norm Powell. And then it correlates very, very well with Kyle Lowry.
Yep.
You can make some very interesting builds by locking in Lowry, Norm Powell, and Boucher or Baines. And Baines has been playing very good. And he's been taking a lot more shots. He's a guy that can hit the 3 ball too. So that's kind of where I'm focused at right now. I don't think you need to force any run backs. I think by doing that, you're locking in a ton of minutes and you're avoiding some of these potential tilt spots in, like if Westbrook, if he busts, if Giannis busts, if Jokic sits and Luka busts. That's like 3 main spots that are going to garner a ton of ownership. You lock in these guys, you look at the Kings-Hawks game, and you're going to be different. You're going to be very different going that route, but you have a ton of upside. So I think it's a great slate where I think these are the slates I absolutely love because we have paths that we can get different that are going to go overlooked and under-owned, and that's how you make money in DFS. So it's going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, I'm seeing the Raptors the same way as you. They're going to be a key part of my builds, and you'll certainly see that reflected in my core plays over at Run Pure Sports. Sign up for that premium package. I know we'll have everything you need up on the website to hopefully get in the green tonight and on every other slate as well. That will do it for us. Thanks for tuning in. As always, if you haven't already, please hit the like, hit the subscribe. We'll be back, I believe, same time, same place tomorrow. Please join us again. Good luck in all your contests tonight. And until then, we'll check you next time.